Let's do it. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Star Wars Guys YouTube channel where the Force is family. I am Master Paul, and once again, my special guest joining me today.
Golgo 13 of Golgo 13's Anime 101.
And we are continuing our series of talking about every single Star Wars Visions episode. And the episode that we have on the plate today is The Village Bride. So this one was a more laid back episode for the most part than the three that we have talked about previously. And what I really liked about this one is you're seeing through this Jedi survivor's eyes, basically people on this remote forest planet just living their lives after the rise of the Empire. But at the same time, they have this struggle with these raiders that have somehow gotten in control of a platoon of battle droids, which, side note, it was great to see them again with their classic Clone Wars battle droid voice. But there's this story of a man and a woman from this village that are set to be married to each other. And seeing the wedding ceremony that they have, it's very in tune with nature. That was pretty cool. But they have this thing where every year the leader of these raiders comes by to take a woman from the village in place of taking the leader. And the girl that just got married, this is her year. Now her sibling wants to fight off these raiders, her but she's like, "No, you're just going to get yourself killed. Let me go." Well, she doesn't listen. And so a big fight between the villagers and the raiders and the battle droids breaks out, with ultimately the Jedi survivor getting involved and seeing her stop the blaster bolt in the air after about to execute. I think it was the girl that got married that the leader was about to execute. And then she pulls out her lightsaber and is able to take him down. That was pretty cool.
Yes, this is compared to the last three, this one is very different in pacing and very different all around. Now, this one is extremely very traditional Japanese folktale type of story revolving around a small village, remote, that has their customs. People respect each other and their customs. Going through seeing that these two young people were betrothed to each other on the day of their wedding. He is carrying her on his back in basically a seat, so that way her dress and her shoes don't get muddied up on the way basically to the temple or to the wedding feast ground.
Mm-hmm.
Having a spot where it talks about their how they met each other, how they knew each other, how they got along, where their love started for each other. Very traditional Japanese culture is written all over this. Now, just like with the first one, it is lacking a bit in the spirituality side, or a further explanation of why they do certain things. More or less, it's just assuming that you know. And
Right.
that, I think, is partly because of the time constraint that they have. But you do have this Jedi who, more or less, they may not be physically wounded, but they are mentally and emotionally ruined, losing
Yes.
losing their master as they did, being forced into exile like they had been, then finding this remote world where a friend of hers has been scouting it out, and has gotten to know the people, gotten to know the customs, gotten to know how life continues even in the face of something as daunting as the Empire. And eventually this Jedi goes through a sense of healing in witnessing this this village bride and her husband getting married, being part of that, being there at the ceremony, partaking in the food there. Even though she's a complete stranger to everyone, she is treated extremely well, showing the kindness and courtesy, and more or less restoring this female Jedi from a place of absolute darkness where she wasn't willing to get involved in anything. But when
Right.
basically this local crime lord, who happened to get a hold of basically a detachment of battle droids, comes around again, she sees that there are people that are willing to fight, even if they have little to no chance of winning. They're still willing to try. And when they fail, and it looks like all hope is lost, this Jedi finally decides that they have they don't have a responsibility, but they want to step back into the mix of things to try and set things right. Even in this small remote outlier planet, they felt it was time for them to stop running, to stop hiding, and to basically do what they were trained to do, which was be a peacekeeper, bring balance. And that's exactly what she did. She flung off her mask, which she had been using to hide her face, threw off her cloak, basically throwing off the yokes of her own self-made oppression, and said, "I am Jedi. I will live again."
Right.
And the saber that she pulled out was absolutely awesome. It's a katana styled saber, and I know that that you don't like the coloring because it's yellow, but that aside, this particular Jedi was very quick, stealthy, and very strong in the Force.
Yes. And the way that she just charged at the Raider boss and just with one strike that you barely even see took him down, that was very cool to see also. So
That's
what would you say?
very traditional samurai Ronin style fighting.
I
Normally,
believe it.
if you strike an opponent in a situation like that where you're rushing, you typically don't see it. But the way that their films typically go, or the way animes typically go, you may not see it, but you see the end result of it. Typically, either
Yeah,
cut in half, blood splurting everywhere. But this is being PG, so it just the dude falls over.
right. So what would you say your rating is for this one?
I absolutely love this one. This is another episode that gets no love or very little love from the Star Wars community because of how different in its pacing, different in its setting, different in how things are done as compared to a standard Star Wars type show or episode.
Right.
So, from the Star Wars side, I really liked it. I give it a 4. From the anime side, it's gorgeous. It is breathtaking to look at. I'll give it a 4.5. And once again, the half is knocked down because they don't have the time to expound upon or include some typical other things that you would see in a period piece like this, like some of the ceremonies, some of the spirituality aspects, some explanation to it to an outsider. None of that's present.
Right. Right. For me, again, just from the Star Wars side of things, I'm going to go 4.5 because I could 100% see in the Star Wars universe there being this planet of these primitive people that are very in tune with nature. And this is how they live their lives, even in spite of the Empire. And of course, why wouldn't a Jedi want to hide out in a place like this? Why wouldn't a band of raiders want to attempt to take advantage of these people? Thus leading the Jedi to get back involved into, keeping the peace as Jedi must do. So with that, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to subscribe to Golgo 13's Anime 101. And just remember, guys, the Force is family. See you guys
The Force
later.
is family.